Hello, hello, hello. I'm going live because I just want to practice. I've never have gone live on TikTok. So today I'm going to be reading a chapter out of my book that I published this year, Why Should You Care? Real life encouragement from real life experiences. So welcome everybody. I'm just going to read over some of the chapters titles. Love, Hate, and Other Things. Can we improve an imperfect system? I've lived through a pandemic. Why aren't you afraid? Not everyone is a believer. Why plant roots in a place only meant to be temporary? That phone call. Shh, don't say that. What are we really doing about this? You again. How to move from test to testimony. My true love is entrepreneurship and life is but a dream. So, let me make sure that it's recording. I think it's recording. So basically when I wrote this book, I had already completed my first book that I published a few years earlier, and I really enjoyed writing, so I wanted to write again. So my second book is also a nonfiction. It's kind of like a continuation of my life experiences in that memoir autobiography genre. So if you like nonfictions, true life stories, if you like things that kind of uplift you, that encourage you to move on, then you will like this as well. So I'm just going to read starting from chapter 1. Probably just read chapter 1 and then give a little bit more summary of what the book is about. Love, Hate, and Other Things. Is it possible for love and hate to exist in the same room, same heart? How about joy and pain, hope and doubt? One of the things I love about life is all the emotions I feel, absorb, and share, especially the good ones. When I think about love, I think about a romantic movie, a couple, an expression for a friend or relative, brotherly or sisterly love. Love can be expressed in literally thousands of ways. The dictionary describes it as an affection of the mind excited by beauty and worth of any kind, an affection based on admiration or to hold dear. Love on so many levels is benevolent, awe-inspiring, enthusiastic, and warm. When I think about love, I think about my family, my relatives, my God, or things that ignite and excite my passions. There are some foods that when I eat them send an overwhelming sensory signal from my tongue to my brain. That signal ignites a feeling of love that cascades from my mouth to other parts of me. The feeling causes me to say, this is delicious. I love the taste, texture, and smell. There are some restaurants I go to because I simply love the food and the service. I enjoy the freshness of the ingredients that outperform other places of businesses. Again, I'm reading from my second book, Why Should You Care? Love is comforting. Love causes me to persevere and open my heart time and time again, even after I feel slighted, ignored, or misunderstood by the people closest to me. At times, love has felt conditional, like when I don't give my son exactly what he wants. He tells me I never do anything for him in those moments, even though I know that isn't true. I found that children need to be taught how to love as well as see it in action. They also need to feel unconditional love too. That's why no matter how many times my son hurts my feelings or disappoints me, I will continue to tell him how much I love him, and there isn't anything that will change my love for him. Right alongside that love lies hate. I hate that love isn't always enough. I hate that love doesn't always hold together marriages, friendships, or commitments in some cases. Hate that good nutritional food is so expensive. Hate that life often happens so much with heartache, suffering, and pain. I hate that evil is always present in a world full of love and people doing wonderful things to improve our societies. I hate that the truth will always be so subjective. Hate that two people with different beliefs can't focus more on their common attributes. I hate that some Democrats won't be friends with Republicans or vice versa. I hate that right and wrong aren't so simple anymore. Why are there so many gray areas? I think the gray areas are there so that one doesn't have to take a definitive side, such as making a choice for or against. I hate that so many are misled with the spin on information to sway the minds of so many intelligent people. I hate that so many must work so many hours to provide for their families. For some, even an extra job, overtime, or bonuses still isn't enough, and they struggle to eat with skyrocketing food prices. I try not to let those things control or consume me with such distaste because I cannot give feelings of hate permanent space in my thoughts or heart. It would be too difficult to focus on love if I do so. Again, I'm reading from Why Should You Care? My second book. I have had joy through my pains many times in my life. The joy sends me on emotional highs, while the pain sends me on emotional lows. One instance where the two were visible in the same room was when I gave birth to my son. Although the pain was great during my labor, the joy existed during the process was equally as great. Amid the pain, I knew I was birthing something beautiful. The pain I was experiencing was endurable because of the joy of bringing my child into the world. Sometimes while running for exercise, my muscles send these pain signals to my brain that make me want to quit. If I don't succumb to the pain, I run my fully intended distance. After I finish running my set distance, I feel little pain, but joy, finishing out what I started to accomplish, it feels even greater. The truth is that life is full of joy. Unfortunately, it is also filled with pain. If you live long enough, you'll experience many of these emotions multiple times over. I prolong the joys as long as I can because I know that pain is inevitable sometime in life. At times, during the process of working toward a goal, I have both hope and doubt at the same time. I hope that the universe will help align things for me for all of my hard work. I hope I have truly done all I can to ensure that all else will fall into place. But in the back of my mind, I sometimes doubt that my goal is even worthwhile, like finishing this book. I hope it is received well, but at times I doubt if I should even bother to reach and connect with people. I hope my writing is influencing others in a good way, but sometimes I doubt if I'm even good enough or my goal is unrealistic. Maybe I'm shooting too high and should leave well enough alone. I recognize these dual feelings, and at times I have to feed the positive vibes to my brain a little more. I have to remind myself to continue to challenge myself. I remind myself that sometimes insecurities will show up to tempt me from pushing for what I want to bring into fruition. I only have to continue to believe that anything is possible and any dream can become a reality, and anything worthwhile is worth nurturing and pursuing with tenacity. This helps me push those doubtful feelings aside to make more room for hope. My son was about 7 months old when his dad and I went out on his first date since bringing him home. I both loved the idea of going on a date and hated the idea of leaving my son with a sitter. I remember doing so much research, interviewing potential babysitters and asking friends and family for recommendations. I searched newspapers, the yellow pages. Yes, you heard correctly, the yellow pages. Remember that giant phone book that weighed a ton? Well, I called the daycares only to find out that childcare was so expensive. Since my son's father was home after he was born, we only needed occasional sitters when we had outings and commitments or dates. We had interviewed a particular lady, and I felt particularly comfortable with her and the way she was handling our son and her overall demeanor and experience. So one day we decided to give her a go. We planned something simple for the two of us, dinner and a movie, the night we decided to go out. As we were leaving our son with the new sitter, he was crying as he watched us walk out the door. I thought he was too young to understand acutely that we were leaving him with someone new. She reassured us everything would be okay, and I was having second thoughts altogether, but still off we went to dinner. We sat down, ordered our food, and enjoyed our meal while connecting without interruption. Just as we were finishing our dinner, the sitter called and said that our son had not stopped crying since we left. She wasn't sure if we'd be okay with that since we'd been gone for over an hour. My heart dropped, and I immediately said that we would be there as soon as we paid our bill. In the background, I could hear our son crying as I told her we'd be there to retrieve him shortly. I don't know how his dad felt, but I couldn't fathom sitting through a movie knowing that our son could not be consoled. I hated the fact that we left him and regretted it every mile we drew closer to retrieving him. However, I loved the fact that we had given some personal connection with each other a try. I am so glad I followed my instincts about that sitter because the mere fact that she called us to inform us solidified our good judgment. It cemented that she took great pride in child care as well as parent care. As we pulled up to her house, I practically jumped out of the car and ran up to the door. To my surprise, there was another person I hadn't even met holding my son. I assumed she was a friend or a roommate of the sitter, but I was still a bit taken aback. I'll never forget the feeling of seeing a stranger I haven't even met handling my son as he sniffed and sobbed himself to sleep. The memory hits me so vividly that I can reimagine those memories of our son crying in his sleep today. I didn't know us leaving him would affect him, but when we dropped him off, he must have been comfortable or maybe not so comfortable with her, even though he had met the sitter previously. Or maybe he was just accustomed to seeing his parents' faces. Some children will go to anybody, while others will hold close to those they know. I found that out over the years from other kids and children around me. Thinking back on it, I don't know why I would have expected him to be okay after one visit. I'm not sure if he sensed something that I did not that day, but his reaction kept me from going on any other dates, dinner or otherwise, without bringing him along for quite a while. He may have very well had a sixth sense that day. Either way, after that experience, I didn't leave him with anyone but family until he was 3 years old. Call me a sucker, but I wasn't as brave as many other parents are every day. I figured that by the 3, he could at least communicate a little bit to me about how people treated him. There were those dual feelings again of love and hate existing at the same time. I loved the fact that the sitter had called us, but hated that another strange person was trying to console my son. Now that my son is a teenager today, it's so much easier to get information from him when I want to know about his day on the way home from school. I love our conversations about how his day at school was, sports practices, and other experiences. I love seeing how his eyes light up when he's sharing something he feels is amusing, even if I don't. I hate that he can always tell when I'm slightly distracted because he asks me, "Mom, are you listening?" I try to remind myself to listen diligently and make sure I'm giving responses at the appropriate times and give the appropriate reactions that show that I'm engaged. I love that my son is growing and maturing into his own person. I just hate to see it happening so quickly. It both pains me and gives me joy. He doesn't need me to be so hands-on with him anymore because I'm raising him to be independent. I often doubt that he will need me to guide him as much in the future because he's doing so well on his own, but I still hope that he does. I hope that I'll never regret being the woman who helps him become the man he will be. I doubt that the man he is sure to become will disappoint me. So yes, love and hate, joy and pain, hope and doubt can exist at the same time, in the same room, in the same heart. I am living proof of that. So that was just chapter 1 of Why Should You Care? Real life encouragement for real life experiences. I just wanted to read a little bit of sample just so people can get like a little bit of understanding of what the book really is about. I'll go back over a couple of the chapter titles now that a few more people have joined. The book is available at pleasantinvestments.com via digital download, and it's available on paperback via Amazon. Again, I just read chapter 1. Chapter 2, I talk about can we improve an imperfect system? And then it goes on through chapter 3, I lived through a pandemic. Why aren't you afraid? Not everyone is a believer. Why plant roots in a place only meant to be temporary? That phone call. Shh, don't say that. What are we really doing about this? You again. How to move from test to testimony. My true love is entrepreneurship, and life is but a dream. So this is just a nonfiction autobiography, just a continuation of life, encouragement. It's uplifting. There's some funny things in there. There's some practical things in there that you can use if you're going through struggles as a way to kind of see the glass half full instead of seeing it as half empty. I talk about things that happen in real life. Some things like seeing a loved one go through cancer. Just things about the economy, things that are going on with the economy and how I deal with it. And hopefully it can be used as a tool to help someone else who is struggling or just don't know what to do, or maybe just is a little bit down and just needs a little bit of encouragement or uplifting or inspiration. Again, it's available via digital download on pleasantinvestments.com, and it's available via paperback on Amazon. I just read chapter 1. So I don't know, I could read another chapter or I could read something out of my first book. What do you all want to hear? Another chapter out of the latest book or a chapter out of the first book? Let's see, I don't know how to... Okay, so this is my first time doing TikTok live, so I don't know how to read the comments or responses. Again, I just read a chapter out of Why Should You Care? My second book is self-published. A little bit of how I got into writing. I was actually reading a book. For those who like to read, I've been reading since a very young age. My mom got me my very first book when I was real tiny, but I remember the most interesting book when I was about 11 or 12. It was Black Beauty that my mom got me for Christmas. And after I started and finished that book, I couldn't put books down after that. So since I've been about 12 years old, I've been a really avid reader of both fiction and nonfiction. I listened to audiobooks in my car all throughout college. I listened to cassette tapes, if you all can believe that. That probably gives a little bit away of my age. But I listened to cassette tapes in my car, those audiobooks on cassettes way back in the day too during college. But I didn't like commercials and I didn't like the radio. They were always playing the same song. So I just wind up listening to audiobook after audiobook after audiobook. And I would listen to anything from Nora Roberts, fantasy. I would listen to like T.D. Jakes, inspiration. I would just listen to so many things, and I would find that some of the things that I was listening to had usefulness. So then I started listening to money books, books about money and books about businesses. And Robert Kiyosaki is another one of my favorite authors about wealth. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was one of my favorite books by him. And I'm pretty sure I've read probably about 10 of his books. He's a really good author that if you're interested in wealth or cash or money, business, he's a really good author. But I started listening to, actually I started reading Michelle Obama's book a few years back around 2020 when we were in COVID. And I was halfway through her book and I was so impressed by the authenticness of her story that I thought to myself, wow, she's just telling her story. Everybody has a story. I have a story too. So before I even completed her book, I put her book down and I started writing my own. I just started taking notes about little things that I remembered from growing up in life, and before I knew it, it turned into a couple of paragraphs, and after that it started turning into a couple pages. In about a year, man, I think I was close to 50 pages. And after a while, I just kept reading it and I kept adding notes to it and adding to it, taking some stuff away. And after that year, I felt like I had a pretty good story. So I reached out to somebody that I was working with at the time. I was working in a middle school. She was an English teacher. I said, would you look over this draft? You know, I just started writing a year ago, and I think I have enough for a book, but I really want to get a second set of eyes on it and see what you think. So she read it. She took a few weeks and she got back with me. And she was amazed by the story that came to life just from me pinning down a few thoughts and experiences and few just inspirational things that people can do when they're in the middle of a midlife struggle. So that's how my first book came about. All the things that nobody told me, finding the extraordinary in my journey. So it kind of chronicles my life from birth to adulthood. And it just shows a lot of the things that I went through as a child that a lot of people can connect with, because a lot of the stuff that's in here, I mean, a lot of people can connect with a lot of the things that I've experienced, from my humble beginnings to being content. Even organized religion, I write about that because I was born into religion. I wasn't given a choice of whether I wanted to be religious, but my mom and dad was already in a religious organization when I was born. So I was kind of born into religion, and I write about how I dealt with that as a child and how I loved it and how I fit in because that's all I knew. And then as an adult, I had to find my way through it and see where in religion, organized or not, I belonged. And then I write about my time in college. I write about my marriage and its decline. I write about the birth of my son and bringing him home and how that changed my life. I write a whole chapter about my mother, a whole chapter about my father. I dedicate a chapter to my grandfather who lived to be 100. I mean, it's just so many things in this book that I think anyone who likes nonfiction can benefit from. And if you're a person who says, you know what, I would love to support, but I don't read, just buy a copy for somebody that you know that loves to read nonfiction. Now, if you love romance, this is probably not the book for you. If you love horror or thriller or fantasy, this is probably not the book for you. But if you still want to support, just go to my website, pleasantinvestments.com. There is a donate QR code on there, and every time someone donates, I give a free copy away. Whether it's a digital download, whether it's a paperback copy. When people donate, that money doesn't just sit there. It just goes. I've given away 5 books this month already. In the book of April, I've given away already 5 books. But like I said, if you're a person who wants to support but just doesn't like to read, no problem. Go to pleasantinvestments.com and just hit the donate, and I'll give a book away to an elementary school, a high school, nonprofit organization. I'll just give it away to something that's a good cause. And like I said, I've given books away so many times, but I've already given away quite a few books this year. And if you're a person who's like, well, look, I don't like nonfiction at all, and reading's just not for me. Well, if you want to read to your grandchildren, my son wrote 2 books. The Battles of Electro Boy versus Fire Boy. It's a comic book he wrote when he was 9 years old. We published it, so this copy is available via PDF on the website, pleasantinvestments.com. And he also did a ending to that first book, which comes in book 2. Electro Boy and Fire Boy meet again. So this book is also available in PDF form on our website at pleasantinvestments.com. Both books are also available on Amazon.com if you just want to order a paperback copy for your child or grandchild. All the PDFs, all the EPUBs on pleasantinvestments.com are always $5. And you can go to Amazon and get your paperbacks. The paperback on Amazon for my first book, The Autobiography Chronological, it's $14.95 paperback on Amazon. And the second book that I published this year, I believe is $15.95 on Amazon via paperback. But I would appreciate your support if you liked any of the portion of the chapter that I read, or even if you want me to read more, I'll do some more lives. I have to play around with it because I don't know exactly how to interact with people yet, but this won't be my last live. Thank you for all of those who's joined me. If you want to reach out to me, you can do that via email, pleasantinvestments123@gmail.com. You can contact me through my website, Hello God's Own. Oh, I think I just Hello God's Own. Hello Nima Sherpa. Okay, I think I'll probably get the hang of it after one or two more tries. Like I said, this is my first one. I don't really know how to use it as much right now, but I just wanted to jump on and just read a little bit out of my book. I hope that you all enjoyed the reading that you heard. I just read chapter 1. I'll probably try to jump back on later on this week and read another chapter. So maybe I can figure out a way to answer questions next time. I might have to get someone to help me figure out how to answer questions. But thank you everybody for joining. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. I hope you'll visit my website at pleasantinvestments.com. I hope that you will buy a paperback copy for someone you know. Mother's Day is coming up if your mom likes to read. And thank you. All right. Bye. Oh, I wanted to say the music that was playing in the background while I was reading, it's by G Strings. Get to Know You, one of the songs that was playing, G Strings, G hyphen S-T-R-I-N-G-Z. G Strings was playing in the background while I was reading. All right, everyone, thanks for joining my live, and I will try to do another one later this week. Bye. I don't think I know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop it. Let me see. I don't know. How do I stop it? Is that a power button?